Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Krishna, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Vrindavan, dear
Hare Krishna,
devotees.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram Ram Ram,
Started
Hare Krishna, Hare
Mangalacharan.
Krishna.
Om Jnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Okay, we'll continue with Sri Radhikashtakam by Shri Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj. Meenakshi Mohini Devidasi will to sing today. What's the link? Yeah. Okay.
कुङ्कुमाब्धकाञ्चनाब्जगर्वहारि गौरभा प्रीतनाञ्चिताब्धकीर्ति पीतनाञ्चिताब्दगन्धकीर्तिनिन्दसौरभा बल्लवेशसूनु सर्ववाञ्छितार्थ साधिका मह्यमात्मपादपद्मदास्य दास्तु राधिका गौरविन्दकान्तिनिन्दचित्रपट्टशाटिका कृष्णमत्तभृङ्गकेलि फुल्लपुष्पवाटिका कृष्णनित्यसङ्गमार्थ पद्मबन्धुराधिका मह्यमात्मपादपद्मदास्य दास्तु राधिका सौकुमार्यसृष्टपल्लवल्लिकीर्तिनिग्रहा चन्द्रचन्दनोपलेन्दु सेव्यसीतविग्रहा स्वभिमर्शवल्लभेशकामतापबाधिका मह्यमात्मपादपद्म दास्य दास्तु राधिका विश्ववन्द्ययौवताभिवन्दिता पियारमारूपनव्ययौवनादि सम्पदानयत्समा श्रीलहर्दलीलया सच्चसा यतोऽसि स्त्रीनाधिका मह्यमात्मपादपद्म दास्य दास्तु राधिका रासलास्यगीतनर्मसत्कलालिपण्डिता प्रेमरम्यरूपवेशसद्गुणालिमण्डिता विश्वनव्यगोपयोषिता क्लीवितोऽपि याधिका मह्यमात्मपादपद्मदास्य दास्तु राधिका नित्यनव्यरूपकेलि कृष्णभावसम्पदा कृष्णरागबन्धगोपयोवतेषु कम्पदा कृष्णरूपवेशकेलि लग्नसत्समाधिका मह्यमात्मपादपद्मदास्य दास्तु राधिका श्वेतकम्पकन्तकाश्रुगद्गदाति भावभूषणाञ्चिता कृष्णनेत्रतोषिरत्नमण्डनालि दाधिका मह्यमात्मपादपद्मदास्य दास्तु राधिका याक्षणार्थ कृष्ण विप्र योगसत्तौ याक्षणार्थ कृष्ण विप्रयोगसन्तो दिक्ता नेकदैन्यचापलादिभाववृन्दमोदिता यत्नलब्धकृष्णसङ्गनिर्गताखिलाधिता मह्यमात्मपादपद्म दास्य दास्तु राधिका अष्टकेन यत्स्त्वनेन नौति कृष्णवल्लभं दर्शनेऽपि शैलजादियोषितालिदुर्लभम् कृष्णसङ्गनन्दितात्मदास्य सीधुभाजनं तं करोति नन्दितालि संशयासु साजनम्। श्री राधिका अष्टकम की जय। श्रीला कृष्णदास कविराज गोस्वामी महाराज की जय।
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, we are ready for translation of this wonderful prayer. Anybody would like to read the translations?
I can read, Prabhuji.
Yes, Arti Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Her splendorous golden complexion, still the pride of the lotus flower, anointed with the tinge of red kumkum vermilion, Her sweet fragrance mocks the fame of the aroma of a lotus flower sprinkled with saffron powder. She is fully qualified to fulfill all the desires of the son of the king of the cowherdmen. May Sri Radhika bestow upon me the service of her own lotus feet. Her amazing and colorful silken garments make the splendor of red coral feel ashamed. She is a garden of blossoming flowers where the maiden bumblebee named Krishna performs enormous pastimes. She worships the sun god daily in order to attain the continual association of her beloved Krishna. May Sri Radhika bestow upon me the service of her own lotus feet. Her charming youthful delicacy negates the fame of the freshly sprouted leaves. Her refreshing form is worthy of being served by the cooling moon, sandalwood paste, lotus flower, and camphor. When she touches the master of the gopis, she dispels the burning heat of his lusty desires. May Sri Radhika bestow upon me the service of her own lotus feet. Although the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi is adored by the other youthful goddesses who are themselves glorified throughout the universe. Still, she is nowhere near Sri Radhika in the matter of beauty, praiseworthy youthfulness, or other divine feminine opulences. There is no one in the material world or the spiritual world that is superior to Radhika in the expression of naturally loving pastimes. May Sri Radhika bestow upon me the service of her own lotus feet. She is very learned in many transcendental arts, such as performing in the Ras dance, singing, and joking. She is decorated with many divine qualities, such as loving nature, exquisite beauty, and wonderful garments and ornaments. Even among the cowherd damsels of Praja, who are praised by the entire universe, she is best in every way. May Sri Radhika bestow upon me the service of her own lotus feet. She possesses the opulences of eternal youthful beauty, eternal pastime, and eternal love for Krishna. Her ecstatic feeling of love for Krishna caused the gopis, who are also in love with Krishna, to tremble. She is always attached to meditating on Sri Krishna's beautiful form, ornaments, garments, and pastimes. May Sri Radhika bestow upon me the service of her own lotus feet. She is graced with 8 ecstatic symptoms. Sattvic bhav, such as trembling, perspiring, standing on standing up on bodily hair, tears, faltering of the voice, and so forth. She's adorned with the She's adorned with different ecstatic emotional ornaments such as impatience, joy, contrariness, and so forth. She is decorated with beautiful jewels that give total delight to the eyes of Krishna. May Sri Radhika bestow upon me the service of her own lotus feet. If she is apart from Krishna, for even half a moment, she becomes stricken with wretched sufferings, restlessness, and a multitude of other ecstatic symptoms of separation. When she regains the association of Krishna after some effort, then all of her anguish immediately vanishes. May Sri Radhika bestow upon me the service of her own lotus feet. It is very difficult for Parvati and other exalted goddesses to attain even a glimpse of Srimati Radharani, who is dear to Lord Krishna. But if someone glorifies her by reciting these 8 verses, then she, who is delighted by Krishna's continuous association with, grant the sweet nectar of her personal service to that person who thereby enters the assembly of her similarly delighted girlfriends. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Wonderful. Yes, so we desire for service of Srimati Radharani's lotus feet, and we get that by serving the lotus feet of our Sri Guru. And yesterday in Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, we saw how Prabhupada is traveling across the world and in Russia in a small hotel room. His two dedicated disciples, Shyam Sundar Prabhu and Arvind Prabhu. Arvind Prabhu is sitting and massaging his lotus feet, right? So that is like this desire that we have, that we may serve the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. But we get that when we actually serve the lotus feet of our Guru, and not just physically serving the instructions of Guru Maharaj, serving the devotees. That is also serving our Sri Guru's lotus feet. And in turn, with that service, we'll be able to get the service of serving Srimati Radharani's lotus feet someday. Okay, so let's continue from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrit, chapter 34, Jatej Privajagacharya, Prabhupada traveling. Now he has moved from Russia. Yesterday we saw how he has planted the seed of devotional service in Russia to those one sincere Russian devotee, Ivan, and he was accompanied by this Indian diplomat's son. And Prabhupada, again, that is the concentration, right? We say, like we've been talking about concentration, some dilution. Prabhupada is so focused, even one, like he says, one beautiful aromatic flower in the whole forest can make the whole flower scented, whole forest scented. So like that, one devotee, Prabhupada has just in 2 days, he has given him the full concentrated dose of Krishna consciousness. And with that concentrated dose, we see today what has happened in Russia. Like I was saying the other day, Russia is the second largest country in the world which has Krishna conscious devotees. So that was again the seed that Prabhupada sowed with one devotee, and the whole, like a forest fire, it has caught up. And now Prabhupada came to Paris, and in Paris he met some of his devotees. He broke the pride of the temple president, and he's praising the small yet humble efforts of other devotees who are helping in translation to French or serving the temple. So let's continue. Prabhupada is going from the Indian tourist office in Paris to the temple now. Okay, so thinking that Prabhupada must be tired from the rigorous press conference and his long flight from Moscow, one of the devotees asked, Srila Prabhupada, would you like to sit here for a minute? And the devotee pulled one of the cafe chairs out away from its table. What is this place? Prabhupada asked. This is a sidewalk cafe, the devotee replied. What do people do here? Do they smoke and drink? Yes, Srila Prabhupada, it is a cafe. They serve alcoholic beverages. No, Prabhupada replied. Guru cannot sit in such a place. When Prabhupada reached the temple, he bathed and took prasadam. The next day, he was scheduled to leave for Los Angeles, and his one day in Paris was filled with outside engagements. He rested and again went out to preach. The devotees had rented the Olympia Theatre, a large auditorium meant to seat more than 2,000. But because the devotees had advertised Prabhupada's lecture only 2 days in advance, only 40 people attended. Prabhupada was undaunted, and he lectured and held kirtan. Afterward, he went to a television studio for an interview. By the time Prabhupada returned to the temple, it was 1 in the morning. Shyamsundar told the devotees who had all accompanied Prabhupada during the day that they should rest a full 6 hours before rising. But the next morning, Prabhupada rose as usual, and at 5 o'clock, he was demanding to know why there was no Mangalarti. He sent his servant to wake the devotees, and as the devotees were hurrying to the temple room to begin their morning worship, Prabhupada was going out on his morning walk. Accompanying Prabhupada on his walk were Shyamsundar, Arvinda, and the Paris temple president Hari Vilas. The spring morning was sunny, and Prabhupada, walking with his cane, appeared noble. Shyamsundar, Prabhupada asked, why are all the householders in Maya? When Shyamsundar couldn't reply, Prabhupada said, that's all right. That is their position, to be in Maya. He said that when he had gone to America, his plans had been to make sannyasis. But when he saw the free mixing of the sexes in the West, he had decided to let his disciples first get married and have a child, and then the wife could go to Vrindavan with the child, and the husband could take sannyas. Prabhupada laughed. Man becomes entangled by his family, he said, by his home, his bank account, his animals, and so many other attachments. Near the end of his walk, Prabhupada spoke specifically of Paris. 3 things are prominent here, he said. Wine, women, and money. What do you think, Hari Vilas? Is this a fact? Hari Vilas replied, yes, Prabhupada, this is definitely a fact. Wine, women, and money. Prabhupada said that although these attachments were very strong, the Krishna consciousness movement could overcome their influence. Prabhupada said that the houses in the Paris suburb with their attractive fenced-in yards were excellent, But everything was being wasted for sense gratification. Although a French gentleman may have such a first class house, garden, wife, bank account, and car, he has no spiritual knowledge. Therefore, he would always remain attached to his first class possessions, and at the end of his life, his great attachment would lead him to take birth as a cockroach, or a rat, or a dog within that same house. As Prabhupada and the devotees continued walking, Prabhupada asked Harivilas how he thought the temple's preaching was faring. Harivilas said he thought it would be successful, but that it might be a good idea to make extra income by starting a business. Your business is preaching, Prabhupada said. If there are some householders, they can do business. When Prabhupada and his party arrived at the temple, they found the devotees eagerly waiting for Prabhupada's morning Bhagavatam lecture. But there was no time. Prabhupada had to leave at once for the airport. He was returning to America. Hare Krishna. Okay, so let's continue to chapter 35. This remote corner of the world. Although Srila Prabhupada had been away from America for a year, his Krishna consciousness movement had flourished by Krishna's grace, and the devotees' attachment for him had grown. His disciples, having heard reports and seen photos of his triumphant tour of India, had felt inspired to increase their own preaching. In each American center, new devotees had been joining and were learning Prabhupada's teachings from the senior devotees. Already accepting Srila Prabhupada as their spiritual master, hundreds of newcomers were eagerly awaiting initiation. How different from Prabhupada's first arrival in America, alone in 65. Walking the cold streets with no money and no temple, he had been ignored. Sometimes he had thought of quitting, taking a boat back to India, but he had maintained absolute faith. And now, less than 6 years later, in dozens of ISKCON centers throughout America, hundreds of disciples worshipped him and would throng ecstatically to receive him. Los Angeles, June 26, 1971. When Srila Prabhupada had left Los Angeles a year ago, the political turmoil there had troubled his mind. But on returning, he found the devotees recovered. Faithfully, they were executing his orders to chant publicly, distribute Back to Godhead magazine, and worship the deity of Rukmini Dwarkadish. In the gorgeously decorated Los Angeles temple, Prabhupada performed a large initiation ceremony, accepting dozens of new disciples. On June 27, Srila Prabhupada traveled from Los Angeles to San Francisco for the 5th annual Rath Yatra. 200 followers met him at the airport. How many devotees do you have? A reporter asked. Unlimited, Prabhupada said. Some admit and some don't admit. Admit you are a servant of Lord Krishna and your life will be a success. After 2 days in San Francisco, Prabhupada returned to LA and on July 16 flew to Detroit. Bhagavan Das, Prabhupada's governing body secretary for the Midwest, had preached vigorously in his zone, opening centers in the St. Louis, Chicago, and other cities. Almost 300 devotees, most of whom had never seen Prabhupada, assembled at the Detroit airport to receive him. Sureshwara. Devotees had come from all over the Midwestern US and Eastern Canada to greet Srila Prabhupada at Detroit's metro airport. A red and gold throne stood in the center of the reception room, and the devotees were chanting Hare Krishna and dancing, awaiting Prabhupada's arrival. When the plane finally landed, all bliss broke loose. The disembarkation dolly joined the plane, but we couldn't see Srila Prabhupada. I became anxious. When would he enter the room? Suddenly a cry went up, and I looked around. Devotees were bowing down. Urukrama, Srila Prabhupada entered the room as bright as the sun, and everyone immediately prostrated themselves on the floor. Not like the other times when we bowed down together, but this was like an overwhelming force hit us and we were being thrown to our knees. When I stood up, I couldn't believe my eyes. There was Prabhupada. Almost everyone in the room was crying. In the Dimna, my first glimpse of Srila Prabhupada was through the lens of my camera, and I thought he looked just like he did in his pictures. I had only seen him in pictures, and now he looked just like the pictures, only moving. All the devotees began to cry and fall to the ground. It was a transcendental emotional thing. I was watching all the other devotees, how much love they had for Srila Prabhupada, and I was feeling unqualified and sinful. Urukrama. Prabhupada appeared powerful, yet at the same time delicate and soft, like a very wonderful flower. As he moved along very slowly, the devotees lined up and made an aisle for him to walk. He walked up to Kirtananda Maharaj, put a garland around him and embraced him. Kirtananda Maharaj was crying tears of ecstasy and he looked like a little boy next to his father. Then Prabhupada went to Bhagavan and patted him on the head. Then he embraced Bhagavan, who also began to weep like a little boy who has just seen his father after a very long time. Vishwakarma. I arrived late. When I got there, I was afraid to look at Srila Prabhupada because I felt too fallen to look upon the pure representative of the Lord. So I stayed behind a wall of devotees, afraid to look. Finally, I realized this is ridiculous, as the perfection of the eyes is to behold the form of Krishna's pure devotee. I raised my head and I saw him sitting on his Vyasasan, drinking a cup of water. Never had I seen anyone drink water like that, without touching the goblet to their mouth. The water poured from the cup like a shining silver stream straight into Srila Prabhupada's mouth and throat, and he finished the water in a few swallows. He appeared to be a grand sage from the spiritual realm, and as everyone chanted, he looked around at the devotees, smiling with great pleasure. Everyone was overwhelmed with transcendental joy, and I joined with over half the devotees in weeping. Prabhupada began speaking. This is very satisfactory that so many devotees, boys and girls, are taking part in this great movement, Krishna consciousness movement. It is a very important movement because it is correcting the human civilization. It is a great defect in the modern civilization. People are accepting this body as self. And based on this mistake in the foundation, everything is going wrong. Accepting this body as the self is the beginning of all problems. The great philosophers, scientists, theologians, and thoughtful men do not know what is the defect. Recently, I was in Moscow, so I had a nice talk with the professor of Indology, Professor Kotovsky. He was speaking that, Swamiji, after this annihilation of this body, everything is finished. So I was astonished that a learned professor posing himself in a very responsible post had no idea about the soul and the body, how they are different, how the soul is migrating from one body to another. As Prabhupada spoke, a voice announced over the public address system that the departure lounge had to be cleared for the next flight. They are speaking about ourselves? Prabhupada asked. We shall stop? All right, let us go. That evening in the temple room of Detroit's ISKCON Center, Srila Prabhupada sat on his Vyasasan before the deities of Lord Jagannath, Subhadra and Balaram. While a devotee led the kirtan, Prabhupada played his kartals, looking around the room at his disciples. He was nodding his head, pleased to see them dancing and chanting. After the kirtan, he lectured. Just see how their characters are being transformed, how they are becoming purified, how their faces are becoming brighter. It is practical. So our request is take full advantage of the center. You come here. It is being guided by one of my best disciples, Bhagwan Das. So he and others will help you. Please come regularly to this temple and take advantage of it. After his lecture, Prabhupada asked for questions. Bahulashva raised his hand. Srila Prabhupada, what is the thing that will please you the most? Chant Hare Krishna, Prabhupada replied, and the devotee spontaneously cried out, Jai, Jai. Prabhupada, that is the simplest thing. You are chanting. I am very much pleased. That's all. I came to your country to chant, that you would chant along with me. You are helping me by chanting, so I am pleased. But this tendency is very nice, that you want to please me. That is very good. And to please me is not very difficult. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that under my order, every one of you go preach and become spiritual master. And what is that order? The order is, whomever you meet, you talk to him about Krishna. Prabhupada emphasized that if one wanted to preach and represent Krishna, then he could not change the message of Krishna, but must repeat what Krishna says. I have come here for the first time, Prabhupada continued. But before me, Bhagwan Das, he has organized. And what is his credit? He has presented things as I told him. That's all. This is wonderful. In Los Angeles, also a program is going on very nicely. My disciple in charge there is Karan Dhara. He is present here. He is simply doing what I instruct. And he's doing very nicely, first class. Everyone who comes, they come and are enchanted by the temple, with the activities, with the disciples. So this is the way. This is called Parampara system. Don't concoct. As Prabhupada was leaving the temple that evening, the mother of one of his disciples approached him. You know, she said, these boys actually worship you. Yes, Prabhupada said, that is our system. I am also worshipping my Guru Maharaj. The devotees around Prabhupada looked at one another and smiled. Although the women had tried to make it appear extraordinary, that fact that Prabhupada's disciples worshipped him, Prabhupada had taken it casually. One must worship the Guru. It was the Vaishnava standard and nothing to wonder at. Srila Prabhupada had so many centers in the US that to visit each one was not practical. During his year in India, many new centers had opened on the West Coast, in Florida, in Texas, the Midwest, the East. Prabhupada said he had more establishments than a wealthy businessman and more residences. Were he to stay at each of his houses he he couldn't visit them all in a year. And especially to Indian audiences, he would cite the monthly expenditures for his centers. Though proud of ISKCON's growth, Prabhupada was never proud on his own account. He never considered using ISKCON for his own enjoyment. Whenever he visited a center, his quarters were usually an apartment arranged at the last minute, often fraught with annoyances like noisy neighbors and incompetent cooks. At 75 years, his constant traveling was hardly an arrangement for his health and comfort. Prabhupada never felt complacent over the small success his society enjoyed, nor would he claim the credit for that success. Rather, he said, it was due to the mercy of his spiritual master and the previous spiritual masters. ISKCON still had but little influence in the world. People considered it a small, exotic religious sect. But by the blessings of the previous acharyas, it was growing. Prabhupada was initiating more and more disciples, and the potential was unlimited. One of Lord Chaitanya's chief followers, Srila Jiva Goswami, had warned that a spiritual master should not accept many disciples. Many neophyte disciples would bring suffering to the spiritual master. Yet, on Prabhupada's US tour during the summer of 1971, he initiated more disciples than ever before. As Lord Chaitanya's empowered representative, he wanted to increase the number of devotees more and more. He was aware of the risk, but he was also aware of the great need, as he had written in the Nectar of Devotion. The one point is that without increasing the number of disciples, there is no propagation of the cult of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, sometimes, even at a risk, a sannyasi in the line of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu may accept even a person who is not thoroughly fit to become a disciple. Later on, by the mercy of such a bona fide spiritual master, the disciple is gradually elevated. However, if one increases the number of disciples simply for some prestige or false honor, he will surely fall down in the matter of executing Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada's test of a prospective disciple's readiness for initiation was standard. The candidate must have followed the four rules and chanted 16 rounds daily for at least 6 months and have the recommendation of the temple president and the local GBC secretary. Prabhupada accepted anyone who fulfilled these conditions, and he expected the disciple to remain sincere and true to the vows of initiation. Despite Prabhupada's growing number of disciples, he intimately touched each of their hearts. Although a few disciples enjoyed extended association with him, most of his hundreds of disciples saw him only from afar. Yet each of them was certain that Prabhupada was his own. Each could say, my spiritual master. Each could say, Prabhupada, and feel close to their dearest friend and well-wisher, the one who was saving them from death. They knew that Prabhupada was the direct representative of Krishna and the most empowered acharya of Lord Chaitanya's message. Those who were sincere knew without doubt that their connection with Prabhupada was transcendental, not to be interrupted or limited by physical or geographical considerations. If they surrendered to Prabhupada's orders, Krishna within their hearts would help them advance. If they were sincere, Krishna would help them become better disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Okay, let's pause here for today. We can take any reflections. Does anybody have any thoughts, comments that you'd like to share? Again and again, the theme is pretty simple. Right? Prabhupada likes to keep things simple, not complicate too much. Right? First and foremost, he is encouraging all the new disciples, devotees, to come to the center regularly, to chant in the association of the devotees, and do some practical service. And yeah, so many centers have grown just by that spiritual potency of a pure devotee of the Lord, right? So when he left last year, it was in political turmoil. But again, because he had blessed them and they were continuing to follow his orders sincerely, things were back to normal and things were growing. So that shows again that there are chances on the spiritual path also that there will be hurdles, there will be issues will come, and sometimes we will stumble, sometimes we will fall, because we all have anarthas, or at least I can speak for myself. I have a lot of anarthas, so I will fall as I progress. But again, the whole goal is to remember the instructions of the Guru. And that is the first thing Prabhupada is saying here. Chant nicely, just chant nicely, right? So that one thing that we do has so much power and potency that Krishna, like Prabhupada is saying, is in our hearts. And he sees if we are sincere, then even if we fail sometimes, even if we fall down, that we have to get up, get back up, and continue to follow follow the instructions and follow the process. Just following this process will help us cleanse of all the impurities that are there, because of which we do fall down. But if we do continue to practice and practice and practice, nobody is perfect, but it will take us towards the perfect world, which is the spiritual world. So we will start making spiritual advancement. Yeah, so it's very, 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 very easy, very, very simple. Sometimes we make it very complicated. Like this example, like in India, there was one villager, he had a, वो बोलते हैं ना इंडिया में क्या बोलते हैं, चक्कर आता है. He was like उसको चक्कर आ रहे थे. So he was having a headache. So he goes to the Ayurvedic doctor, and then the doctor says, वैद्य जो बोलते हैं, वैद्य होता है, वो बोलते हैं कि you just drink some lemon water, that's it, the problem will be solved. So then he says, what? Just lemon water? And what will happen with that? No, you have to check me properly. और जैसे कोई डॉक्टर होता है, उसको बोलता है कि तुम एक इंजेक्शन, you have to take some injection. Without taking medicine, without taking injection, how will it be cured? No, you give me something, right? So the same thing applies here, that the medicine, which is the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, is fully potent. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has bestowed all his energies into the Mahamantra. Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis. Right? All his energies are there in the holy name. It has so much power and potency. That is the medicine coming from the spiritual world. But we are so unfortunate, we have no attraction for that medicine. And we think, oh, by doing 10 other things or 20 other things, our problem will be solved. When the medicine is very simple, right? But just we don't have attraction for that one medicine. Just drink lemon water and everything will be solved. But no, oh, I want to do yagya, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this also, that also, right? You want to do 20 other things because, of course, as human beings, we like variety. But that is why Prabhupada has also given us variety in the form of following the Bhakti Yoga principles, the regulative principles of Navada Bhakti. If you feel bored with chanting, just stand up and chant and dance, do kirtan. If you feel bored with that, take a Prabhupada book, read in the Association of Devotees. Everything when you do Association of Devotees, that's the best thing. Reading, chanting, dancing, worshipping the Lord, doing our archana, singing these prayers, wonderful prayers by our acharyas, vandanam, right? Dasyam, serving in some practical form. And we go to the center every Saturday, serving, doing some seva, practical seva, be it cleaning, cooking, whatever it is, helping the devotees. So that is in the mode of dasyam. Sakhyam is, when we meet, like Prabhupada said, whoever we meet, whatever we know, just speak about that. Preaching, that is preaching, because as a friend, and you have a good friend, you always talk about your good friend to others. So similarly, Krishna is our best friend. We talk about Krishna to whoever we meet. That is Sakhyam. And then Atmanivedanam is trying to serve through our body, mind, and words. So again, these 9 processes are there for us. And we can always use the variety of these. Okay, anybody else? Anything you would like to share? Anything that you loved from today's reading? Anandini Mataji, Anandini Gopika Mataji, not heard you for some time. Hopefully you're not busy.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yes.
Wonderful reading. Just listening and absorbing it all. It's just as I really feel that Prabhupada Leelamrit that we read in the morning sets up the right mood, and the enthusiasm of the devotees, the ecstatic mood when they saw Srila Prabhupada, just visualizing that was wonderful. So yeah, nothing different, but yeah, wonderful readings every time. Thank you.
This is the time to do that, right? Prabhupada said this time, like he was saying, even though he came at 1 o'clock in the night, he woke up and he's expecting, where is everybody? Why is nobody here for Mangalarti, right? So the same thing, it is hard, but that is the mood, that is the standard. He said that we should not miss Mangalarti. So by coming together, at least we are hopefully pleasing Srila Prabhupada, that in the morning we are trying to make an effort, even though it is difficult, it is hard, and we will fail, we will fall down sometimes, but no problem. Whenever we should get that spirit again to see however best we can do, we should come together and chant. And this is the mode, like you said, Shuddha Sattva, So if you set the mood in the morning at this time, then the whole day is so blissful. Because otherwise, we are in the different modes, right? Like Keshav Maharaj says, different times we have different modes. Mode of Shuddha Sattva, now we'll have mode of goodness and passion. And bhakti tinged with those modes is also bhakti, but yeah, there will be some impurities, right, which we'll have to take extra effort to get rid of. But yeah, setting the mood in the morning is the best thing, like Prabhupada said. So yeah, thank you, Mataji.
All glories to your service. Thank you, Prabhu.
Nothing my service. Everything is, we are just following Prabhupada's instructions. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, anybody else would like to say anything? And we'll pause here. Okay, thank you so much for your wonderful association as always. Vansha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, जगत गुरु शिला प्रभुपाद की जय, शिला प्रभुपाद लीलामृत की जय, इस्कॉन सिंसिनाटी कांग्रेगेशन की जय, निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल, हरे कृष्ण,
हरे कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, धन्यवाद प्रणाम।
प्रणाम।